All right, let me set the scene for you guys. It's Saturday night. My wife wants to watch a movie, and I let her choose the movie because that's what good husbands do. That was my first mistake. But she decides she wanted to watch a comedy. And okay, I enjoy comedy. And since it's coming from Netflix, it might not be as funny, but it's going to have a couple of ha-has in there. So she chooses the movie. I come back in. She's watched the preview, so she knows the premise. I'm just working with the director. Okay, so the movie we land on is called I Care a Lot. And when I say we, I mean my wife because she Googled it and skipped all the fuss and whatever. We just went straight to finding what is the best comedy movie right now on Netflix. So she goes, "This is the movie we're watching." I'm like, "All right, bet." This movie is a Netflix original, so you can almost assume what's going to be inserted into it, but you really don't know how they're going to do it. And I'm going to explain that in this video. And then at the end, you can agree or disagree with me because what's being twisted here is hidden underneath some layers. And this is what this video will try to uncover. Okay, warning, heavy spoilers. Even though this movie's from 2020, a lot of people have probably already seen it. But if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to go through it like some movie review or anything like that because that's not what this channel is. And there's plenty of really good channels out there for good movie reviews. I'm going to skip around a lot and just kind of get to the point I wanted to make about this video while I was on a movie date night with my wife. Okay, so in this movie, you got Rosamund Pike, who plays Marla Grayson. And you also have Peter Dinklage, and he's from Game of Thrones. And then Eliza Gonzalez. Not sure where I've seen her from, but I have seen Diane Weist in another movie before. And I think Isaiah Whitlock, Judge Lomax. I've seen him in a lot of movies. I think he's funny, which is interesting because this movie is a comedy. Okay, the storyline goes, poised with shark-like self-assurance, Marla Grayson's a professional court-appointed guardian for dozens of elderly wards whose assets she seizes and cunningly bilks through dubious but legal means. And bilk is another word for takes. Okay, she takes people's properties. It is a well-oiled racket that Marla and her business partner and lover, Fran, use with brutal efficiency on their latest cherry, Jennifer Peterson, a wealthy retiree with no living heirs or family. But when their mark turns out to have an equally shady secret of her own and connections to a volatile gangster, Marla is forced to level up in game only predators can play. One that's neither fair nor square. Man, that was hard to get through. Just the storyline alone, I probably would have left this one alone. But anyway, my wife chose this movie, so I was gonna stick through it for her. The movie starts off as normal, introduces us to the main character in a really messed up situation. She's in the courtroom taking away someone's mother from her legal son as a guardian as she becomes the guardian. It's a really messed up situation. It immediately throws you in the darkness of this main character. As the movie starts, you immediately don't like her, and it was on purpose. So in the opening scene, she wins a court battle against someone's son who's trying to take care of his mom, who can't even see his mom because now he's being banned from the facility to even go visit his mom. She wins this court case and there is no punishment whatsoever. There's almost a reward for doing something that's morally wrong. So then she does it again with the main plotline lady. She wrecks this lady's life, goes to the courtroom to this judge who seems to be crooked, and he gives her the authority to go arrest this lady or take her to the facility if she does not cooperate without her ever being in the courtroom. That's wrong. Again, the movie rewards this with almost zero consequences. Now, this lady's son, who is played by Peter Dinklage, for some reason, is completely incapable of getting revenge for his mom being caught up in this scheme business ran by this lady Marla. The incompetence of Peter Dinklage and his men is stormtrooper level. And if you watch Star Wars or anything, you know stormtroopers are made fun of for never being able to shoot anything. And this is the level of competence for Peter Dinklage and his bad guys posse. They're terrible. They're terrible at doing their jobs, period, right? Twice in this movie, twice they were assigned to take care of this lady, right? Take care of this lady. Twice she somehow outsmarts them. She escapes, even though they knocked her out with some kind of tranquilizer gun. They had her locked up. He didn't want to take care of her right there, but they had to give her a chance to escape because plotline. So she behaves badly, and there's a reward for it. Now you're thinking the movie just introduced a secondary bad guy. She is already the main villain. She is the worst person in this movie. We are not meant to like her. And I looked at my wife and I go, we're not supposed to like her, right? My wife's like, yeah, I don't like her. I'm like, okay, cool. Me and my wife are on the same page. Bad guy one is this lady. But now the movie has introduced us to a male character, Peter Dinklage, who for some reason is bad guy number two because he's a mafia boss. He's an ex-Russian mafia guy, and he has all these men that are dangerous and tough, but they can't get anything done. But we get introduced to this new bad guy. And I'm looking at my wife like, who am I supposed to be rooting for? Because the two bad guys are going against each other. Who do I support? My wife's like, at this point, I just want to watch this movie. And I'm like, okay, I'm confused. Why did the director introduce us to this male, but made him bad? And he's supposed to be worse than her. But I don't think anyone is worse than what she's doing. This is the worst person in this movie, period. I want both of them to lose. But no, the movie makes you choose. He sets her up to be taken care of. She gets dropped off in this cliff in her car into a river, and the car's sinking. She's on a seatbelt, but some reason she's able to hold her breath, unbuckle herself, look around, swim to the back seat, realize that nothing is open. So now she has to kick through this window. So she's kicking through it, and of course, conveniently, she breaks it because she's just super strong while holding her breath the whole time, and she's swimming up. She's swimming up dramatically, and it looks like she's never going to reach the top. I mean, swimming. This scene, I'm just like, no way. And then, oh, long and behold, she pops up, heavy breathing a little bit, but she walks right out of there. No injury, nothing. Now, mind you, her car was driven off of a cliff. She's in a seatbelt, splashes down, nothing broken, no type of bruising, just a little red makeup right here, but face still perfect, by the way, because movie. So she comes out of this water, she's unscathed, absolutely nothing wrong. Technically wins the duel between her and bad guy number two because he tries to take care of her. She survives it, gets out, kidnaps him, blows up his car. For some reason, he survives that, and you're just sitting there like, what is happening in this movie? Who's the bad guy? No one is losing here, except for that first guy that was in the courtroom with her who cannot see his mom because of evil bad lady. So she wins that battle, beats the bad guy. I just watched this woman do the most horrific thing in the first scene of this movie, and now she wins? Man, as my mind is processing what just happened through this movie, I'm looking at my wife. My wife's kind of like, whatever. She was over this movie already. Y'all got to hear how this movie ends. Do not click off yet because the ending is what sent me. Okay, so she makes these crazy mistakes, but somehow survives them. And we get to the climax of the movie where she turns the tide by surviving a attempt on her life and actually kidnapping the other bad guy, Peter Dinklage, and blowing up his car. And he's sent to this hospital, and she uses her brilliant lawyer-like tactics to become his guardian. I'm not making this up. She becomes bad guy number two's guardian, legal guardian. The hoops I had to jump through in my head just to follow along with what the director was trying to get me to see. I'm still confused on that part. Don't worry, it gets better. She's at the hospital telling him how he is now in her custody and she could ruin him. And you know what she wants? She just wants $10 million. Give me 10 million because if you don't, I'll ruin your life with this piece of paper by making you go to this retirement home. She threatens an ex-Russian mafia guy with retirement home. He was a Russian mafia gangster. This Russian gangster guy who works on the 151st floor, the biggest office I've ever seen, the best view, but he has 6 people working for him. Not only is that inaccurate for Russian mob bosses, but why even include that? Don't give him that and not really meet our expectation about what Russian mafia mob gangster guys would do if one of their big OGs was taken into custody by this girl boss. All right, she goes, I need 10 million. He goes, okay, I'll do you one better. And this is where I was tuned in now. My brain checked out of the movie the whole time, but I leaned in on this part. He says to her, I got a better idea. Why don't we team up and create a business together? The two bad guys in this movie teamed up to create a super business of something that was morally incorrect from the beginning of the movie. And at some point, you were forced to root for her against this Russian bad guy. But now they're working together, and you're just like, there's no way this is happening. So now I have to figure out if this movie's going to end happy or not. And guess what? This movie ends with a bullet right to her heart by the first guy from the courthouse where she won that court case. I don't know if that's meant to be satisfying. All of these people that she was helping and taking care of under her guardianship are still under some guardianship. This is not satisfactory. This doesn't end the problem she started. The movie told us that. He told us they wanted to create a mega corporation and have guardianships everywhere, and all you did was kill the CEO. The movie told us that it's a mega corporation. The CEO's departure does not end the corporation. She created this terrible business that ruins people's lives and it gets to survive. It survives this movie. Okay, so let's get to the moral conclusions of this. So why is this movie dangerous? Morality is being twisted in this movie and it's very subtle. The plot alone doesn't really answer if her business was morally right, and you haven't even realized that the business is terrible. That's not a good business to go into. So if you happen to take inspiration from a movie like this, you might think the business doesn't really matter to who you are as a person. So if you're a Christian, as long as you work really hard, you can start any type of business that generates revenue and puts you at the top if that's what your drive is. And that's not right. Business you start, if it's truly helping people, it won't actually hurt them in the back end. So what are the moral lessons from this movie? What were we supposed to learn? That if you want to become a girl boss, you have to fight through some bad guys, some men, some surprises. You have to be good at fighting. You have to be good in the courtroom. You have to be good with women, spouses. You have to be sneaky. You have to be smooth. You have to be able to swim. You have to be strong. We haven't got any morality that's straightforward. It's been slanted throughout the entire movie. We've gone left, right, sideways, backwards. So as the movie ends, I look at my wife. She's checked out. She's ready to go to bed. She just shakes her head and goes, that sucked, left. And I'm sat there processing, what did I just watch? What was I supposed to take away from it? Okay, here's an example of why the ending of this movie doesn't correlate with any type of morality that we can grasp as an audience. Take Apple, for example. Apple lost their CEO early on in the 2000s, but did that stop the corporation as Apple from functioning? Do we still get new iPhones? Do we still get new iPads? Yes, yes. So the business Apple continued without the CEO because all they did was replace the CEO. And the ending of this movie, all they did was take out the CEO of this business that was already premised as a bad business. The movie taught me that you can start any business, whether it hurts people, helps people, it doesn't matter. As long as you reach your goal as successful girl boss. And if you're a guy, don't be such a jerk. Don't be incompetent. The end of the movie wasn't satisfying to us as an audience. Overall, I think movies like this can be dangerous to young Christians because of the morality line they are running and the shift they are doing between what is right and what is wrong and how blurry those lines are getting. It doesn't really matter anymore about whether you're right or wrong, as long as you are pursuing some personal self-achievement and you've reached it. And especially if you're a woman, then it's twice as good. Listen, if you like discussions like this and reviews like this, let us know in the comments and I'll tell you more stories about movies me and my wife watch on Saturdays sometimes. Oh, and by the way, did I mention this movie was a comedy?
Name is Frenchy Riff. I remember walking to school in the Congo, pull up in America. All I'm hearing, hey, that dude from the jungle. I was in the backseat praying to the Lord when my mama was crashed the car. My uncle, double take like who's he? Haters gonna hate on loose sleep. I had a dream I was climbing.